The late adopter. Hello everybody, how you doing? I hope you are still having a nice Christmas and nice holidays. Bitcoin is not doing much, and you can see that on Twitter, you can see that on YouTube, you can see that everywhere, you can see it on the charts as well. People are in some kind of a, holiday mood, so nobody's doing anything, nothing is happening. But today is a very important weekly close, and today we got to talk about best case scenario, worst case scenario, what's gonna happen. So we're gonna talk a lot about this chart up here, a weekly chart. Where do we want to close this candle up here? But before we get to that point, we're gonna go into the small time frames. We're gonna go to daily time frame, see that this move towards downside is playing out. We're gonna look at some support levels, but we're gonna also go into very small time frames and see what's happening down here on this dump. Will this dump continue towards downside down here, maybe to some kind of 48.7 or not? What's gonna actually happen down here? So this over here is very important. But before we get to that point, let's talk a little bit about the 10 and 20 moving average up here and what can actually happen. I mean, are we gonna go all the way down there? Will that be bad? Is this move bad at all? So if you zoom in a little bit up here, you'll see that we went pretty high up here above a certain very important resistance, and right now we are going back below it. Now I want to tell you that this is totally normal thing to do. Oftentimes when you see something creates some kind of higher high, it's not that this has to bounce off of the previous support. It can go back down again and continue doing this. Okay, so this is a normal price action goes down. This doesn't necessarily mean support. It means an important level and you want to get this higher high up here, but it does not mean that you cannot go back down again. Okay, what you cannot do, technically what you should not do, is go back all the way down below the support. Now that is the thing you do not want to do, but you can go below this support up here. You can go, just because you broke the resistance, you can still go below it, but you do not want to go below the support. As long as you hold the support, that's fine. But the thing up here, you want to create these higher highs. So what's happening up here is that we did actually that we made 3 lower highs up here, and then we had this big move up here that made a higher high, and that means changing the trend, and that's all we could ask for. That's a very good move, and we like that. So this move towards downside, we already said that we are a little bit overextended on the daily time frame. Maybe some kind of move towards downside might happen, and it's actually happening. And the way I see it, we can go all the way down to the 10 and 20 moving average down here, a very important level down here at what's that right now? Let me see up here. That's at let me just put a line up there. That's at 48.6, give or take 48.6, 48.7 right now. Maybe tomorrow is gonna be a little bit higher, but it's around that ballpark area, where we can go down without actually anything happening. It's a normal move to pull back towards the downside, and not actually anything to be fearful of. Also, even if we close above this line, 48.7 today, that means that the weekly close will be above 50 moving average. We're gonna come back to that, and that's also good. So still move down all the way down here, still no problem. Everything looks nice and dandy. We like that. The next thing we're gonna talk about is this short time frame up. Sorry about that. This shorter time frame up here. So this is basically this part over here. That's that. Okay, so it's just a little bit zoomed in, and yesterday when we were having a video, we were saying that there is some kind of triangle up here, or we went kind of down, a little bit down, we tried to go up, back up again. There was some kind of resistance here. Maybe my lines weren't that precise, but doesn't matter. We went all the way down to some kind of 49.7 or something, like 49.6 down here. Well, we said like 49.7 down here at 49.7, and we did that. We went down to 49.7, we bounced off that 49.7. We are right now going a little bit up. Now we had a big move towards downside, and what's happening right over here is very important. This is gonna decide whether we are gonna move all the way down to some kind of 48.7 down here, like we saw on the daily, the 10 and 20 moving average, or are we just gonna bounce up here and continue towards the upside right now? So that's gonna be very important. So let's zoom in a little bit here, and what you're gonna see on this part over here, that we had some kind of a rising wedge up here. It's not very precise, but whatever, it is some kind of rising wedge up up here, and this rising wedge broke on the downside, and the target for this rising wedge was something like where it was down here or something like that. Let me just move this. You can see it was down here at 14.97 or something like that, and you can see this big wick towards downside, some kind of capitulation on the short time frames, and moved right back up again. So this rising wedge played out already, and right now it's very important part over here. So although we did bounce too much towards downside, this was some kind of impulsive move towards the upside, and right now comes very important decision time, and I not know how this is gonna play out, but we hope for the best, of course. So the thing that we are hoping for is that we will be you know, here is the 10, 20 and 50 moving average. We are hoping that this is gonna, you know, bounce above these moving averages, inside, back inside this rising wedge, and maybe on the outside up here. That's the best possible scenario. The worst case scenario up here on the small time frames is if we start getting rejected by these moving averages up here and this triangle, and start going towards downside. Once we start going downside, if you see rejection and we go below 49.7, something like that, below these levels down here, give or take. Let me see a little bit on a higher time frame. Yeah, it's around that. Let me see 1 hourly. It's a little bit higher than that, 49.777. Let's move a little bit up here, something like that. Let's go back to the 15-minute chart. Yeah, it's something like down here at 49.777. If we go below these levels down here, I think we might have another drop towards downside, and if we do have another drop towards downside, then we come back to this this 48.6 levels down here, 10-20 moving average. Really nice support that I actually think that we might hold. So 48.7, that's all the way down down here. So we might have another move towards the downside. This still doesn't invalidate any kind of bullish scenario or anything like that. It's a normal move towards downside. I was actually hoping we're gonna do something like this and then bounce off up here. It looks like we might go down. Another leg towards downside before we bounce off of that, because 10 and 20 moving average on the daily time frame is really important. So whether this is gonna bounce on downside, that's like you know, there is probability of that, but best case scenario is just start climbing these moving averages and continue towards the upside, like we said yesterday that we just might do. But right now we are seeing that might be the case. So you know, there is a probability to downside and there is hopium to the upside. Now, the last thing we're going to talk about is the weekly closes. The day Sunday, very important weekly close because we are in bullish scenario. Oftentimes you get these weekly closes that are not important because they are somewhere up here, and you know, you are away from the moving averages, maybe away from certain levels and stuff like that, you know. But right now it's a very important because where we close can decide where we are bullish or bearish. So yesterday, if you remember, we had a line up here at this red line, that's the 20 moving average, but and we said like that's the, you know, best case scenario. But right now I think that's a little bit unrealistic, getting up to above 53,000 levels, so we're not going to talk about too much about that. But we got these three levels up here. This is the best case scenario. So if you can close this candle above what's that right now, 50,000, something like that. If you can close the candle above 50, that's the best case scenario because we get that engulfing bullish candle that we all want. That would be the best case scenario. Good scenario is just getting above this yellow line. That's at 48,000. So even on the daily time frame, if you fall back down to the 10 and 20 moving average, we are still above 48,000. So, you know, no problem yet. You know, we can still technically fall down to 48,700 and still be above, you know, the 50 moving average. And, you know, we will close very nicely. So no problem there. Now, it gets bad if we close below 48,000. Anywhere down here, it gets very bad. It gets very bad, and we don't want to do that, you know, because you are below the 50 moving average. And if we close even further down here, if there comes some kind of big dump and we close in the area below the previous candle, that's absolutely worst case scenario. Now, for the last part of the video, I'm just going to explain to you why the worst case scenario might be actually good. And you might be thinking, hey man, how can the worst case scenario be good? Because sometimes when you have something like this, you have a big red candle and then you have this big full green candle, and just before the close, what happens is this candle pulls down and closes somewhere down here. What you get then is some kind of doji on the downside here, and this almost creates something what we call Morningstar doji pattern. So the next candle oftentimes just becomes very, very big green candle towards the upside. So even though if we should pull all the way down here to some kind of bad levels, that might just give us a nice dodgy candle in here in the middle, and that would be bullish for the next week. That would be bullish for the next week. But but that's still some kind of hopium, and if you do that, then it's like, come on, man, you can do it. We still gotta have some kind of big pumps and stuff like that. But if you just stay above the 50 moving average, that's literally the best, very good case scenario. Best case scenario is above the 50 levels. So these two levels are very important to watch for. The 48.7 10-20 moving average, very important to watch for, and also on the short time frames, this wedge that played out already right now, the reaction, how we're gonna react to these moving averages up here now that we are on the way up, is also important, because if we start getting rejected by the moving averages on downside, we cross certain support down here, I think we might see some kind of lower levels down here before we actually continue towards the upside. Anyways, guys, I hope that this was some kind of update for you guys, just so you know what's happening. Hit the like button on the way out, and enjoy the holidays. Bye bye.
That was genius.
Thank you.
Great job.
You guys did it. No, it's you.